when did you decide you were going to make the announcement, and what's it been like since you did?
Yeah, it's been really good. I think there's a lot of good well wishes out there today. I think I decided maybe a couple of months ago, maybe 2 or 3 months ago, that it was going to be my final year, and I suppose I just wanted to kind of get it out there that I was going to be retiring, just because I know there's going to be a lot of rugby over the next couple of weeks, and I didn't want there to be any distractions at the end of the year or anything. Do you know what I mean? I didn't want it to be a big announcement or anything, so. I just wanted to get it out of the way, really, just to get it out there, and as well as, and I said that I didn't want to be a distraction, so it's good to get it out there anyway.
Yeah, so you didn't fancy a Rory Best or a Brian O'Driscoll or what's going to be a Johnny Sexton long goodbye?
No, I didn't. I didn't want to drag it out as much as I could. I just wanted to get it done with and move on, to be honest.
Very good. I want to bring you back. It could be 7, 8, 10 years ago now. When you think of the trajectory of a rugby player in a second row, you'd have your kind of, naturally you have your height, your strength and all that, and you would have been a solid, dependable second row player. And people remarked at the time that you kind of had a spurt in your playing ability, for want of a better phrase. Do you remember that, or what happened at that time where you became more than just a dependable second row? You were carrying the ball, you were offloading, you were linking up, and it was an unusual trajectory, because it wasn't just you were getting better with experience, it was almost as if you became a different rugby player. Do you remember that and what happened around that time?
Like, I don't think it didn't just happen overnight, you know. I think it kind of doesn't happen anymore, that it takes a couple of years to bed in, and because lads are coming on the scene now, and they're ready for international rugby as soon as they leave school. So it doesn't really work that way anymore. But I do remember, I suppose, getting more into it and getting more game time, just in and around maybe. Well, my first Six Nations really campaign where I was starting was 2014. So in around maybe 13, 14 was when I was kind of 12, 13, 14. I was starting a lot with Leinster, and I started start with Ireland a lot then. So it was probably in around those couple of years that I kind of started to kick on. I don't have any reason why. I didn't try to focus on anything in particular. I just tried to focus on me and my job. I knew I was dependable, and I knew in order to get to international rugby as a second row, you needed to nail your basics, which I thankfully did. The line out was one of my strengths. Was quite dependable on restarts, and then you just have to look after your ruck and your breakdown, your defence. Then, so it's just those subsequent things that come in, like I suppose your carrying and your offloading was. It kind of, like, I've never obviously been the biggest offloader or the biggest carrier, but when I did, I was a bit dependable. So I suppose, again, as you say, I was dependable. So I suppose that's why I think I was probably getting picked.
And if you have some standout memories, Leinster and Ireland, what do you pick? What's the top of the list?
There's so many, so many. Like, you know, you could say the 4 Heineken Cups, but I think for Leinster, I think the European Cup in 2018 would have been my favourite one, I suppose, because I started the whole campaign and I started the final, and I think that year in general, I think the 2018 year in general was huge, because we obviously won the Grand Slam with Ireland, and then we won the double with Leinster, and then we went on tour to Australia, and we won our the summer tour down in Australia. So 2018 was huge. But I suppose with Ireland, you can't really look past the game in Chicago against the All Blacks. And then to beat them at home again in the Aviva was brilliant. I think Six Nations wise, my first Six Nations victory in 2014 was huge. I think that was up there with my favourites as well, because to win it, we won it over in the Stade de France by beating France. Again, it was my first kind of campaign that I played a lot of rugby as well. So it was. As again, there's a lot of memories and a lot of good ones to pick from. So that's it's always a good sign of a good career, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Last one from me. What's next, Devin?
Yeah, a few things. I'm in the middle of doing some exams. I'm doing the QFAs, so I think I'm going to be getting into the finance world. A client relationships, partnerships kind of thing. Like, so I think I'll be letting people know in the next couple of months, I suppose.
Okay, but you'll be under a little bit of pressure to give something back in terms of what you know, your knowledge base, and how useful that would be. But you're going to take a break, I presume. So if that's the case,
I'll take a little bit of a break. I always thought that I didn't think that the coaching world was for me. I think over the last 15, well, I suppose I've only had a family for the last 5 years, but my missus has been with me for 16 years. Do you mean? And I think professional rugby takes a huge toll on family life, you know, and I think I owe it to them and I owe it to my family to take a step back and give back. Do you know what I mean? Like, because you're away every weekend and your wife and your partners take the burden and everything. Do you know what I mean? Taking care of kids and everything. So you got to take that, do the unselfish thing and try and give back. And I think a coach's life is nearly worse than the player's life, because they're at every game and they're doing all the hours under the sun in the office. So as I said, I'm going to take a little bit of a step back, but you never know what might crop up in the next year or two. You know.
Listen, that's brilliant. Thanks, Devin, and thanks for all the memories as well.
Cheers. Thank you.